And we're going to officially go live. I'm going to hit it. And we should be on here in just a moment. Oh, exciting. I'm excited for a conversation today.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, we always have good chats.
I love that you're in Shasta. I grew up in Northern California, so near Chico and Sacramento. So we used to go up skiing in Mount Shasta.
Isn't it amazing here? We are live. We're chatting about Mount Shasta, but really we're talking here with the amazing Jenny Ashwell. We're talking about how to step into your soul's purpose and how to really come into alignment, how to use your angels and your guides, how to do that courageously. And if you don't know Jenny, you're going to love her. She is an awesome, awesome woman. She runs a podcast on Love's Curriculum. She is a gifted spiritual mentor. She's an intuitive. She's dedicated to awakening love in the world. And she's got a Love's Curriculum for the High Council. So she's a spiritual counselor, and she teaches people about how to align with their soul's purpose. Is this a book that you have that's a #1 bestseller?
The book is Love's Curriculum, Messages of Enlightenment, and I scribed it for the High Council. So yes, yes, it was channeled. Yes. So following my own soul's path, I was originally a lawyer, and way back in 1996, and then had a wake-up call from my soul that remembering that was not the path that I really wanted for my life. And then began a personal growth journey, a spiritual growth journey, reading all those Hay House books and seeing Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and all that stuff. And yeah, became a mom, 3 kids, but was always on this journey for 15 years. And then in 2013, I had just trained to be a spiritual counselor, and again had this wake up, and I was always loving to journal with my angels and really always surrender what's my next step based on what spirit has in mind for me. And then I, like an inner dictation, using my intuition, I could sense there were guides there with me that said, we have an assignment. And they showed me a vision of a book called Love's Curriculum. And I basically moved through a lot of fear and eventually sat down and at the computer and said, what do you want me to type? And closed my eyes, and the words came like an inner dictation. So it's not my words, it's divine words from those loving guides that are wanting to work with us right now and help us align with our heart and our soul and make that difference that we want to make on the planet.
So as you can see, Jenny is a real live rock star in the spiritual realm, and I'm so excited. Thank you for joining us here today. And
yeah,
if you're tuning into the live stream, drop us an emoji. Let us know that you can all hear us and see us. Let us know if you have any specific questions for Jenny about stepping into your soul's purpose, about connecting with your angels and your guides. We want to connect with you, and this is such a juicy topic. And how interesting, that I think all entrepreneurship is that it's a calling, from our soul to expand into that next evolution of you. And I know that you have, some tips that you're going to share with us today on how to do that courageously. So we're just inviting you guys, if you're joining us, show up, ask us any questions. Jenny's a rock star, and, I'm going to let you take it from here. But this is a really, this transition from, hey, this is my job, this pays my bills, I need this to, survive, I've got to feed my family, thank you, honey, to, I'm going to step into my purpose and leave the safety comfort zone and the safety comfort net. My husband's just brought me a coffee. He's like,
aw, where's mine?
Where's mine? This as well. He just quit his job of 22 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was saying that, he's like, me, I was like, yes, that's the conversation that we're having. It's so timely.
Yes.
This is a huge chasm to cross and make this leap and so school us, man. I'm ready. I'm ready and open for this conversation. It's a juicy one. If you're joining us, let us know. Sherry's here. Sherry, aloha, ladies. Yeah, take it away, Jenny. How do you start?
Right. So what do I want to say first? And I look forward to any questions too. I guess the word courageously brings to mind the fact that, and you know this well, Vanessa, and I'm sure a lot of people listening already have taken some pretty courageous leaps in following their dreams of being, serving and their own business. And because we may get this calling and then we begin to say yes, but it doesn't, then the pearly gates don't open. And it's like, oh, everything's easy because, I'm following my soul now. I'm on purpose. That has not been my experience. And I don't know actually anyone who's had that experience. Instead, what I learned early on is as we say yes to our heart stream, as we say yes to stepping out of the comfort zone and really following what love wants us to do, what the divine wants us to do, what our higher self, whatever word for that connection with something greater than you, that instead it brings up all the fears, it brings up all the blocks. And there's that part of our mind, which I call the ego. It's used by a lot of spiritual teachers. A Course in Miracles talks about the ego. Wayne Dyer talked about the ego, and that part of our mind that wants to keep us safe from love, that wants to tell us that we're separate from everybody, that don't really have a purpose. It's that inner critic. That's the doubts. It's all the fears. And so when you actually, it's almost like it doesn't talk to you when you're in your comfort zone. Hey, you're just kicking along, not taking any risks. Oh, I'm happy, I'm fine. And then you realize there's something more. You answer that call, and then all those fears, all those doubts, all the negative self-talk. Who do you think you are? Why, you can't do this. All of that gets triggered as we keep opening to it. So it does become a journey of how to navigate that.
It very much is. People think, oh, business is just about, creating a funnel and building a website and putting my shingle out and saying I'm a coach now. And it's really, I always say entrepreneurship is like a full-on contact sport.
Yeah.
It's the best personal development journey. And it is very much this invitation to allow love to lead your life.
Yes.
And if love is going to lead your life, then fear cannot. And I think that's where the conscious awakening happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're coming off of these automatic triggers, automatic patterns, automatic respond, react. And we're consciously choosing a new way to show up, a new way to believe, new things to believe, new ways to behave. Yes. And it is absolutely, for me, I don't know about your journey, but mine was very intense. I was kicking and screaming all the way through that. Mm-hmm. I did not trust. I stayed in a job for 4 years longer than I needed to. It really is an invitation to let love lead. Mm-hmm. And everything, and then some shows up. And life is, somebody told me this once, we're having a conversation here. I hope you guys are joining and tuning in because it's a juicy conversation. And my purpose used to terrify me. Women's empowerment, I don't want to share that story. Yeah. This is really scary. And I remember, I'm just going to drop this as a nugget, but somebody, if you're scared, if you're terrified, if you're, of letting love lead and going in that direction, somebody once told me that, in life's going to give you one scoop ice cream. And if you drop that scoop ice cream, you don't get two. First, you learn how to manage one scoop, and then you get 2 scoops. So you're never going to get more than you can handle. Mm-hmm. And that's a one idea, for me that you just let me like, oh, okay. I am on the right track. It is all working out. I just have to keep going.
Yes. And that's that key, how to keep going. How do we step in courageously? How do you keep stepping in? How do you keep connection? So I guess one key I have found is the more connected you can be to that higher self, to your angels and guides that I've come to experience. We have this soul team that's working with us. We have our guardian angels and archangels and loved ones who've passed on. And it's like we're not the only ones stepping into the purpose. It's a team effort, but we may be the only ones in form. They're in the spiritual world helping us, because that's where we can, that's that soul. It's like we're manifesting our soul's purpose, and our soul is connected to that soul team that's working with us. And we're the ones in form bringing it into life, into the manifestation.
I'd have to agree with that. You know, my dad was an artist, and, you know, had some pretty wild, outlandish beliefs about UFOs and terrestrials. And I love my dad, very connected to nature. And on the anniversary of his death, there's all kinds of like things that pop up and opportunities and like reminders of, he's like, hey, I'm still here. You know, hey, kiddo. So I absolutely, even though I could not explain to you or put, you know, concrete this and this percentage of, you know, but I do believe that. And it's when my father passed away that I really got my ass in there to, you know, shit or get off the can and stop this like, oh, toying around, because I thought, wow, I'm 28 years old and he passed, it was 10 years ago, I'm 39 now. And I said, you know, he died early at 66 years old. He was an artist. And he did what he loved to do his whole life. And I thought, I'm almost halfway there. And what if, and I haven't even started yet. So his passing was really like an impetus for me to really get going. And I love that, you know, you're going to talk to us about connecting with that realm. What's your website, Jenny? So if people are tuning in here, we've got a bunch of people live on Facebook. Hey, Facebook, welcome. Dude, welcome if you're joining us in the podcast. You know, what is your website? I'll type it in here.
Yeah, lovescurriculum.com. So my own journey, when the book met the assignment to do the book came to me, Love's Curriculum. And thank you to my own guides who gave me that title. It was very clear. They were like, the book will be called Love's Curriculum. It's a good title. And then it's turned into this movement to bring love to the world, to share the messages in the book, to work with other light workers, change makers who are wanting to step into their purpose and get more connected with the divine, with love, with the guides, and really show up in the world.
And you work with entrepreneurs you work with all different kinds of change makers, you know, so what would you say, you know, they really struggle with, you know, as they're stepping into their soul's purpose?
One would be doubt of the connection, or not feeling like they're hearing the guidance clearly. So it would be, you know, where are those angels and guides? What am I really supposed to do here? And so there's a lot of things that can cloud that. And when I work with people, it's amazing because I bring through their angels and guides. A lot of the mentoring that I do is actually tuning in and bringing through that guidance. And then through that, it helps them strengthen their connection. So it's kind of like you start to work with your guides and you're meeting them each week, and then you start to trust them, have a communication on your own, my clients, with those guides. So it strengthens that, and begin to trust it, it takes practice. It really does. And it doesn't happen in a vacuum. So you need others to bounce it off with, the support of others, the support of a mentor or a teacher, someone else who can maybe be your sounding board, validate things for you as well.
I absolutely agree. This idea of learning to trust yourself. We talked about this yesterday in the live Q&A call about programming your mind with what you want, and then your intuition will give you the fastest way. Your intuition is that source, your soul. Yeah. It will tell you, pick up the phone, call this person, or check this email, or turn on the TV at this time, or whatever. And, you know, money loves speed. So the faster you react, the faster you act on that intuition, the faster you're going to get your goals. And so if you don't trust that intuition, or if you don't know how to tune into it, or if you don't have, like Jenny says, a daily ritual for connecting, you know, you're going to be, you're going to miss the bus or miss the train. And, you know, it was really interesting. There was a time in my business where I thought about turning in and just fucking walking away and giving up. And this is like 5-6 years in, written books, and, you know, successful 6-figure coach. And but I was expecting more. You know, I thought, you know, after so many years, I want more. And I was kind of a little bit lost, and I moved to California and I hired a mentor, and he was like a real business mentor, like Mr. Business and tuk 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 and, you know, KPIs and key performance indicators and all this shit. And then I went home with his package, and he had this meeting with your morning council exercise. And I was like, man, you know, I got away from, at that stage, okay, I got away from the morning rituals. There's law of attraction coaching that I got started as law of attraction and sales coach. And I kind of moved away from those law of attraction things and thought that, you know, the real meat, the real juice, the real nuggets, the real, like, the grit of what you need to do every day is in this world, man, in the tangible world. You know, do this. And it was really a turning point in my career, you know, to make that a daily ritual. And he talked about, you know, lining up and sitting at a table with this council of people that would tell you and give you messages and tuning in and writing down and connecting. So,
yeah.
So you do that every day. You have this ritual and you help your clients with that.
Yes.
And what are some of the things that have like come? I mean, I'm curious. To me, this is like, but like it's
for like, clients,
mediumship, like, ooh, it's intriguing.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Oh, everything comes. Like for clients, for me, so
the recent client, for example.
Yeah, so I love it because each mentoring session, each group session, when I'm mentoring is I surrender it to their guides and ask to just be guided intuitively, me, as what needs to happen. And things like what's it blocking your progress, right? What old belief or what trauma from the past or your past lives. So those will just come, and then a beautiful way to clear that. Things like business names, logos for business cards. So like really specific stuff as well. Everything that's needed to get you from, I think, A to B, to create those goals, to get more clarity. So I think it really is, you have that team or that council, and you go and you have your business meeting, and it's like, well, today we got to get rid of this limiting belief. Or, wow, this fear's been coming up. I forgot how to deal with it. Or, okay, I need to know how many people I should call, or where should I focus my phone calls next week if I'm wanting to get to this place, and guidance about where you want to go. So always surrendering that vision and not getting stuck that you know where you need to be. So being open to what guidance, maybe you thought you were heading this way, and then you start to work and you're like, oh, actually it's like over here that my heart is guiding me. So I would say it's everything.
It is. And it really does connect with business. I mean, it really does touch all of, you know, when you don't have clarity about your name or what to do or where to focus, you don't take any action. You don't, when you can't hear your intuition, when you're not sure. I would definitely say that, you know, being able to connect and trust yourself and trust your intuition. So what's the difference between your voice of intuition? We get this question a lot. You know, what's the difference between your intuition and, you know, your ego? How do you know this is your soul talking to you versus?
Right. Yeah. In fact, I've got a free download that I've got available for folks. And that's one of the things that I talk about in there. And it's trust, practice, and there are some basics that that the ego sounds like, the differences. So the ego, like your intuition is never going to shit on you. You should do this. You shouldn't do that. It's not going to, usually doesn't talk in the negative. It usually doesn't say, don't do that. It'll say, hey, try this. Have you thought of this? Go call this person, as opposed to, well, don't talk to them. Right. So the ego is all negative, don'ts, restrictive, shoulds, judgments. That's that inner critic voice that we all have going on. And I think for me, there's been very pivotal times where it took being in front of a mentor or a counselor, a spiritual person who could reflect back to me the difference. Because sometimes we get, right, it's harder to assess ourselves than other people, right? Don't be your own lawyer, don't be your own doctor. So not on a daily basis. Like, I think everyone can hone their skills to where they're hearing the difference, but there's still those moments where that inner critic or that ego can start to take over, and the anxiety or whatever, it's just hard to actually hear it clearly. And then you go to a good friend, a counselor, a mentor who can help you see the difference. Like, I remember, oh yeah, right, of course that's the ego talking. What is intuition really saying here? And so sometimes you need outside help, definitely.
I think with every new skill, if you want to become an excellent baker or mountain biker or paddleboarder, you know, I'm in the garage here and paddleboard. So if you want to, you know, hone your skills, you can join a class, you can, you know, but for me, whenever I hear intuition in business is really interesting, I'll get just like, ooh, an idea. You know,
yes.
Like, hey, call this person and ask, you know, see if they want to teach your clients about video marketing. I'm like, oh, you know, and I'll keep doing my thing, and then whoop, it'll come in again, just as like a little idea. And I'm like,
yeah,
you know what? I'm going to act on this. I'm going to say, hey, I'll make a message. Hey, so-and-so, you know, I've been thinking about this. I know, you know, it's not something we ever discussed, but would you be interested? And,
right.
And they'll usually come back saying, that's an awesome idea. I'm all on board, and everyone will benefit from it. The clients will love it. So to me, you know, intuition comes and just, it's this quiet little, like, little idea, like sometimes in the shower, like, you know, it's not obtrusive. It's not intense. It's not like, the sky's freaking parted and angels land and there's a big booming, you know, there's nothing like that.
Right.
So to me, anyways, for me.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe once in a while we get those epiphanies, but not every day. Yeah.
Yeah. The majority of it are just soft little, like, little ideas.
Right.
And if it comes in more than once, I'm like, okay,
listen,
I have to act on it.
They're pretty generous. They'll like remind us 3 times, or you'll see a sign. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, if you learn to start to look, like, you'll hear the little idea, and then that'll be the topic on the TV that night, and then someone else will mention it, and usually we get 3 or 4 times. It's like a really good idea to say, okay, I'm gonna do this.
Are there any specific angels and guides, or any specific ways that you suggest, or like any of your favorite, you know, angels that you work with?
Oh, all of them are awesome. And it's what I love is everybody, as I work with people and they remember their connection, they all have their kind of special ones that are working with them. So you get your own introduction to those that are specifically attuned to you, or at that time in your life, like, it can change. So definitely the archangels, Michael and Ariel. She works with nature a lot. The High Council has all the archangels. So that's the group that I scribed the book for, the spiritual group that dictated Love's curriculum for me. Jesus comes through a lot. For other people, it might be an ascended master like Kuan Yin or Buddha. And then there's the random guides that you wouldn't even, nobody else would know. They're just for you. And you meet them and you're like, oh, okay. Like, I know I have and this is where it starts to sound crazy, I know. I have someone in the spiritual realm, his name's Joseph, and he's like my organizer. I'm like, okay.
Okay, I'm open.
Great. And you look like this, and okay, cool. Or sometimes it might be an animal that's working with somebody as a guide, a wolf or an owl.
I usually call on one, you know, one angel, and it's Shamuel. And I lose something, like, hey, Shamuel, tell me what this is. And then, you know, please and thank you. And then I'll get an idea and I'll go open where it is.
And something you were mentioning that I cover in that the free download that I can mention, it's on my website on the homepage, is that it's whenever, so there's different ways we receive. We can see, we can hear things. we might sense it in our bodies. We might just know, like an idea, we'll just know, or feel it in your gut. So there's so many different ways. We might see outward signs, but it all feels like it's coming from, like you said, the idea kind of pops in, right? So it's, you know, the difference because you're not generating it. Like all day long, we generate dialogue in our heads. Right? Don't do this. I don't know. Oh, look at what she's wearing. Oh, I don't know. I wonder how I'm doing. Like if you listen, there's this constant dialogue, but it feels like it's you and it's in your head and it's me thinking it. Whereas with intuition, there's a different feeling to it. It's like, oh, it kind of comes in, whether it comes into your vision or as a little idea, like a word or a knowing in your stomach, but it comes into you as opposed to us thinking it and generating it.
And what you touched on here is really important. It's that, you know, there are different types of psychics, different types of mediums. Some people are auditory, visual. Some people will see a scene. Some people will hear a voice. Some people will feel a feeling. And so it's how you, it's really about how you perceive, you know, information or that kind of essence.
Yes.
So it is different from everyone. And this ties into a good question. We've got a few questions here.
Sure.
Hey, Megan and Janet. I have a lot of questions. Megan says, I hope you don't mind. Of course, we don't mind.
No.
Questions. What about when you get tons of ideas and you get distracted by all these shiny things? It causes a lot of confusion for me in my path. Any advice for when it happens? How to know which things to follow?
Mm-hmm. Good question. It happens to all of us, I think. Yes. And that's that kind of learning to navigate that's just part of the journey, part of being human, that we may feel like there's a lot coming in or distraction. And of course, the ego that never wants you to fulfill on your purpose is going to distract you with things. So it's, again, how do you tell the difference? What's like just a distraction and what's really intuitive guidance? And some of that is that daily discipline. I know, Vanessa, you touched on that. So every morning before I even get out of bed, and I've been working with clients to do this as well, I set my alarm with a snooze for that 10-minute snooze. And I lay in bed and I connect even before my feet hit the ground. And I ask, so I set the intention that you could set the intention that you know clearly today what's really your purpose, that it really stick out and you just feel it or know it or see it. I surrender my day to spirit, to love, to that higher purpose every day by saying, what would you have me know? What would you have me do? And what would you have me say? And to whom? So if you set your day, you intend that your day will be serving that higher purpose, that your words, that your actions. So really working with that power of intention and surrender. Ask to be guided, ask to know. And the practice of connecting with your guides. And for me, I still work with a spiritual mentor. I don't always see my own stuff clearly because I'm in it. And so I have a friend, we meet every couple weeks, and she's an intuitive as well. And we turn into our guides together because it helps to have someone else helping you see it clearly. Or I work with my own mentor once a month. They can help me see past my own like distractions or confusions, because again, it's not always easy to, I guess there's so much you can do on your own, but then it also is really helpful. Always. Like I can't imagine my life without some kind of support from others in that way, be it a friend, be it an official, someone that I've hired to help me, or a group that you go and you talk with or hang out with. But really, that to me, that's critical.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of questions about, so I'm a psychic, Jennifer says, a psychic medium. How do I have confidence in providing a service to others and know that my service is good enough?
How do you know? Right. Well, that's, I mean, that's for anything. It could be for singing, it could be for speaking, it could be for sharing your intuitive gifts like mediumship. So I think that's a real universal thing, that whole I'm not good enough. I don't know, do I have any value here? And one key, and I've learned this from you, Vanessa, too, is good enough is good enough. And you learn as you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So you really learn as you share, and that it's okay to be learning. It's, you know, there is no perfect, there is no, you're never going to get to that point where you think you're ready.
Yeah, you're never going to feel ready enough. You're never going to feel good enough. Everybody has there's a few deep core wounds that everybody has, you know, and number one, it's am I good enough, you know, not feeling not good enough, or, you know, a core wound can be in the area of being judged. And then, you know, people oust you from the tribe and you die, or, those are two very core wounds, I think, that everybody has to some degree. And like Jenny says, good enough is good enough. And eventually, you know, to build confidence, you take, it's kind of like building a ladder. You take one step on a ladder and then, oh, I didn't die. Well, okay, I took one leap out there and okay, you know, that worked out. Interesting. And then another, take another step and eventually get to the top of this ladder and you have a much bigger view.
Yeah.
And confidence is something that's built. It's not something that you wake up with. You're never going to feel ready. It's a step by step, and it is okay for me to learn as I grow. You know, you have to crawl before you learn how to walk and then run. You don't just exit the womb and freaking run a marathon. You know, there's a whole learning period there, and certainly it's true with entrepreneurship.
Well, I think too, knowing that even when you're starting out, it's valuable for somebody. You don't have to be this perfected person or expert who's been doing it for 20 years. If you're serving in your heart, especially with mediumship and connecting, it's going to make a difference for that person. And, but my heart goes out. I know that place. And to say too, it's part of the journey. It's another one of those things we got to learn to navigate, because it gets better and I build confidence in one area, but I still get nervous or doubtful before I'm going to bring through the high council and channel, like, oh, is this going to work? And I don't know. And does it have any value really? Like those thoughts, they've never gone away for me. It gets easier to navigate and like, okay, I hear you, but I'm not going to listen. Like I've built my courage muscle through practice. Like the first time the fear was like, ah, and now it's still there, but it's like, oh yeah, okay.
I know you, and be quiet. We're doing this.
Yeah, but it hasn't gone away for me. So maybe knowing that too, that it's not that there's going to be a point where it's just going to go away.
Let's talk about this as a really important topic, you know, which is fear. You know, a lot of people who are learning to step into their purpose, that is what they're dealing with, right? It's the fear of, am I good enough, like Jennifer mentioned, or the fear of being judged, or, you know, the fear of it flopping and failing and not working, and, you know, the fear of embarrassing, having to go back and, you know, crawl between your legs, go back to the job. That fear, and like you mentioned, it doesn't go away. You just learn how not to let it run and control your life.
Right.
Decisions for you. And it's breaking that, you know, that's breaking that loop and that chain is very much the chasm that you cross when you move into, you know, living your purpose and trusting your guidance versus, you know, trusting this tight place of being. Maybe you do have a job, but it is paying your bills, but it's not doing much more than that. And it's what I call the comfortable uncomfortable. I was selling mops and lint removers, okay? And I was making great money at it, but it was, you know, that was not my purpose. And I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I really was terrified. You know, what if I go and start this business, this coaching business, and it takes me freaking 10 years before I earn any decent money or replace my revenue? Then what?
Right.
You know, that was a really major fear. But, you know, having that fear perpetuated the experience of not making the commitment, not making the jump, not making the moves.
Yeah.
You know? So the self-awareness, and this idea that Jenny was mentioning, that the fear doesn't go away. You just learn how not to listen to it. And I think that's a really key piece. It's that you know, that ego is always going to be there. And it certainly is true for me, you know, as well, even though the company has grown and we have 18 people that are here on the team and, you know, have $250,000 months, there's still risks that I have to take and, you know, believing in certain things and trusting my own intuition. Is this person a good, do I bring this person on now? Do I not do this? You know, still steering this ship. And you know, I make my decisions based on feeling. I make my biggest, you know, I'm somebody who makes decisions fast. And sometimes, you know, that causes problems, but I always go with that feeling, you know, that intuition. I very much rely on that to make my decision.
Right. Well, and that's a good point too, is even when we trust our guidance, it doesn't necessarily all go as we planned or we expected. And that's where that trust comes in too. So I may be inspired to call a certain person and connect with them to collaborate. And I'm like, whoo, and I go, and then spirit may have a little different plan of what was supposed to happen from that meeting than what I decided was supposed to happen. It's all valuable. It's all moving me forward, whatever, but how to keep trusting that as you take that step, even if at first maybe it looks like, well, why did I do that? It all fell apart. But to trust actually whatever that falling apart was needed to happen for the next thing, or you met that very person you needed to, or you learned how to deal with failure in that instance to help you keep going the next time. So that, yes, our version of what things should be like is not always true. Yeah.
And I think there needs to be a good understanding in the fundamentals, you know, and the one fundamental, the one big shift for me was, you know, really believing that life is always working out for you.
Yes.
It is. It's not punishing you, you know. There's not punishment when things don't go exactly as you planned. People are finding this conversation, by the way, very valuable. Just comments, people saying like, "Oh, I'm so happy I came across this."
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I love this stuff. I'm like, you can tell it is my passion. So,
yeah, and
lawyer was not, but this is.
And so opposite. You were a lawyer before, and now you're the spiritual channel, you know, coach, guide, helping.
Talk about moving through fear and fear of judgment, and
What was that like leaving this very, you know, lawyer? Like you got to follow this, you know, processes, and this is the way this is done.
Yeah, totally different. Totally different. That was all about control and me thinking up stuff, and now my life is all about surrender and letting go of those thoughts that want to control and trusting all the time and being willing to let go of self-consciousness. What do I look like when I'm, you know, tuning in and channeling and I don't know what they're saying and oh my gosh, I don't know. And so I'm always just, I guess over the years, I've slowly, and it's been a journey, I've been working that surrender muscle, I guess. And I still get the fear, the doubt still comes, but I've gotten better at that muscle of, okay, let me let go here. Let me let go of control again. I can trust. I'm okay. It's okay. I'm not going to get hurt here. Yeah. So
either win or I win, either win or I learn. You know, that's really for me. That's how you know, and I just bought this house here in Mount Shasta and it's beautiful, but there's a train close by. And I'm like, oh my God.
You'll get used to it.
You know, and the property is so gorgeous. This big tree. There's like 200-foot trees. There's like 14 of them on the property. It's a gorgeous 2-acre piece of land. Nice house. We're renovating it. I'm like, okay. And then this big train comes by. I'm like, oh my God.
Does it come in the middle of the night?
Yes. It comes in the middle of the night and it's like there's a crossing. So it's like, ah! I'm like, what did I do?
You'll get used to it.
Well, no, we're not living here. It's more like a vacation home.
Yeah.
But so, you know, that's now calling up, you know, all, you know,
right.
All of that.
Did I make the wrong choice?
Oh,
what did I do?
Really having to, you know, the words that I teach, you know, lean in. Okay, let's lean in and spend more money on sound deadening windows and whatnot, and make it an awesome. It's a beautiful place. It just, you know, need to sleep so that if they can train, you know, waking you up. Because it's great. It's 2 miles from the lake, little town, train. And I was obviously led here for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. In Chicago, where I went to law school, we lived on the L, so the train, right, the elevated commuter train thing. So there was a house, a really narrow house that was right up against the track, and then our apartment. So we were like 15 feet from the train. But I started to sleep through it because eventually I didn't notice it. But
yeah, it gets easier. That's what neighbors say, but I'm like, I don't know about that. Anyway, it's really been, you know, some of the things that, you know, we coach on, like, okay, get out of your comfort zone and lean in. And
yeah,
out of my comfort zone. House renovation, out of my comfort zone. You know, lean in. Okay, invest more to make the house soundproof. It's all problems can be fixed.
Well, and that brings up 2 good points. So when we decide to take a step or a leap and put ourselves out there, what my experience is, there's always an ego attack or backlash that happens. So while you're doing it, the ego is saying, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, don't do this. Or you have this great experience. Maybe you give a talk and you're like, oh, this was great. And then the next morning or an hour later, it's like the talk starts in. Oh my gosh, but you look like this, and maybe you didn't do this right, and blah, 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 blah. So again, it's like there's love and fear, we're here to begin to express our true soul and take those steps and share and be real. And then there's that part of our mind as human beings that doesn't want that at all. And it gets triggered when we
the self-talk, the beating yourself up, or the resistance that comes in. I see that a lot. People that, oh my God, you know, they're going to invest in this course and then they blow themselves up. The car explodes, the roof goes off their house. Some negative backlash happens to bring them right back down in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Learning to navigate that, like just say
love. We're having.
I hear you, right?
Love for yourself.
Yes.
While you are stretching and growing, because they're, you know.
Yeah.
So what happens to me when I'm when I'm rattled? I'm going to call it being rattled, because I'm pretty solid. I got my morning ritual. You know, command my time, my space. I'm pretty on it. I'm a hustler. I make lists, get things done. But if I get rattled, and I did get rattled, that train freaking rattled me. I was like, oh my God, what did I just freaking do?
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, it's a big chunk, you know, we're playing with big chunks of cash here. I'm like, yikes.
Yeah.
I was rattled. And then, you know, I went back onto Pinterest and I looked at some quotes to like catch a quote and bring me right back into an elevated place. That's what I do when I get rattled. Is I get this and I look up certain quotes. And the quote that I found that really took me back out was, if you want to double the chances of success, you have to, you know, double the risk of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's really what this whole journey is, right? I mean, you're talking about living your soul's purpose, and that involves a risk. And anything that's worth risking, you know, anything that's worth anything is worth the risk. Mm-hmm. You can't get something for nothing. You know, leaving a comfy job, the lawyer, to step into your soul's work involved a huge risk.
Yeah. And what are people going to say? And I was also going through a divorce at that time. So again, like, oh my gosh, all the opinions or judgments or questions people had, or what are you doing? But trusting. And I think that's a good point I had thought to mention earlier, and you touched on it, was how to align again. So as you're hearing that attack or that rattle going on, how do we connect with that, our hearts and with our soul and with love? And so inspirational quotes, reading books of other people who've been through it, anything, meditation, maybe it's seeing a mentor or a counselor. I talk about when we bring the ego out to the light, it just loses all its power. So you have a friend who understands this, that those negative thoughts aren't the truth. You share them and they're like, hey, those aren't the truth. And it loses. When it's in our head, it's very powerful. If you can share it with a trusted person who understands the whole journey, it's like it loses its power. Yeah.
It's a good point. We have another question. Megan's saying, does the universe put things in your path sometimes that aren't actually what you want? And she says, I had to have a few job interviews come out of the blue, but I don't think I really want a job. I want to be a full-time entrepreneur. Could it be that these things are coming across my path for a reason? Do you make these decisions based on feeling them?
Have they come for a reason? So if we were working one-on-one specifically, I would tune into your guides and say, hey, what do you have to say about this? Like for you specifically, because everybody's situation is a little different. So, but if I tune into like the overall message for everybody, it's not that, it's like we're such a complex machine, so to speak, or beings, right? We have the spiritual part of us and the soul's guiding us. And then we have the ego and all its doubts and thoughts and the programming from when we were kids and all the things that happened to us and the beliefs we made up that we're projecting on the world. And so I think when you get a couple other job offers as you're thinking that you want to step into something else, it's not spirit or the universe throwing you those job opportunities. It's all your pre-programming, all your past, all of your, maybe you're not totally clear. So what you experience is a bit confusing. And I know, Vanessa, you work a lot with that. So if you're not kind of unsure inside, you're going to be faced with uncertainty coming at you. So different types of jobs, not clear.
If you have beliefs about doubt, and most people don't, they would not sabotage themselves knowingly. We're just not taught how to check in and find what our beliefs are. And they're expressing themselves. So like Jenny says, if you're not super clear, or if there's doubt that's living in your consciousness, then you're going to express doubt in the material world.
Yeah. But you can keep asking for signs from your soul, keep asking to know more clearly. Again, I've got a PDF, I think it's on my website, lovescurriculum.com, that talks about how do you strengthen your intuition and how do you communicate with your angels and guides. So, and we talked about a daily in the morning, surrendering your day, asking to know, doing affirmations and all that mindset work. And
talk to us a little bit, Jenny, about how clients can work with you. Do you have a link? I know that you wanted to share with people a way that they can work with you. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I do. And I've opened up a few spots. I've got a few days this week where I can take discovery sessions. So if you want to look into what would it be like to work with me as a mentor on how to align your work and your purpose and be in more communication with your guides so that you can step into it. And that is, should I type it, Vanessa, here for you? It's kind of one of those bit.ly links. So I'll type it, but it's www.bit.ly/book-with-Jenny. And it is case sensitive, what I've been learning. So it's capital B, small W, and capital J.
Yeah, I typed it in there. So bit.ly/book-with-Jenny. I posted the link for you guys here. Awesome. I highly recommend that you tune in with Jenny. She is a rock star, as you can tell. And, having a business very much is having success in business very much is, tuning in, listening, trusting your intuition, trusting that your higher power has this already all figured out. It's already there. And really it's about deprogramming and stop sabotaging and stop allowing the fear to distract you, pull you off, hold you back. And I wish, I leaned in. I hired coaches. I remember I joined a spiritual business building program at the time. It was like 8-10 years ago after my dad died. And, it was a year immersion into this kind of work, learning, trusting, becoming aware. And there is no, you don't take action on your business until you can get clear and you can trust and know how to move forward. So highly recommend, booking in a free call with Jenny. She's a rock star. Thank you, Jenny, for tuning here today and sharing, the space and all of your wisdom with everyone here. Bethany says, hello, ladies. Everyone's saying thank you here on the Facebook group.
Thanks for showing up and making it important to connect with your soul.
Yes, it is an important conversation. It's more, people make the mistake of thinking, oh, business is about learning advertising and having a website, and that is a very big part of it, but you don't get to do that until you can show up and actually pull the trigger and finish what you start, and that is all internal. So there is, I would say, most of success in business is 90% mindset, 90% of the right habits, and becoming conscious and aware and trusting yourself. You can't lead a business. You can't lead unless you trust yourself, right? Yeah, it's a very important lesson. So again, Jenny, your website is lovescurriculum.com. You can find Jenny. Also, you've got a podcast, which is called
Loves Curriculum. It's a radio show. It's live every other Tuesday on BBS Radio.
BBS Radio. And how can people find you on social media?
So there's a Loves Curriculum Facebook page, and then the Lightworkers and Love Advocates Facebook group.
Awesome.
I think if you search, then you can request to join.
Right on. Perfect. Jenny, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your awesomeness. And all of you guys here, whether you're joining us on the podcast or Facebook or YouTube, thank you again for showing up and tuning in. And here's to courageously living your purpose and all of the wonderful, amazing nuggets and inspiration and fulfillment that comes from that. It's never ceases to amaze me. Absolutely, definitely worth the risk, right? And it's a lot easier with support and help. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm Vanessa Simpkins from TakeYourPowerBackNow.com. Sending you guys lots of love. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.